Get in the game with NFL Sunday Ticket from Rev TV. You'll get every game every Sunday afternoon from around the league. Plus, NFL Sunday Ticket gives you up to 8 live games on one screen with Game Mix. You'll get that died and woke up in football heaven experience when you upgrade to NFL Sunday Ticket Deluxe, including Red Zone, the channel dedicated to every scoring play from every game. And if you add Rev TV HD to NFL Sunday Ticket Deluxe, you'll be entered to win big weekly prizes with NFL Wildcard Mania. Get in the game with NFL Sunday Ticket.
The Bahamas Agriculture and Marine Science Institute nearly complete, according to officials. Former Deputy Prime Minister Brent Simonet talks the new gaming bill. Plus, the DNA threatens protests over the Renward Wells controversy. We've got those stories and more coming up tonight. I'm Dana Smith, and NB12 starts right now. Topping news tonight, officials at the Bahamas Agriculture and Marine Science Institute say they are 65 to 70% complete on the buildings that will make up the multi-million-dollar project. After a recent NB12 report revealed that the project, which the government described as the legacy of Prime Minister Perry Christie, was behind schedule, Agriculture Minister V. Alfred Gray flew reporters to the island to prove the institution is still coming along. Kyle Joaquin reports.
This will not fail because the government has pledged to put $100 million to ensure this project succeeds. And I don't doubt for a moment that that is happening. It will happen.
Gray says despite the criticisms that have been thrown at the government over the delayed opening of Bamsi, the institute will succeed. The institute, now scheduled to open September 29th, will commence with 50 students. The Union of Tertiary Educators has already ridiculed the government for spending millions of dollars only to open for 50 students. However, Gray says that's all they could accommodate at this time.
The registration drive was held from island to island. Several islands were visited, and we were oversubscribed, quite frankly. We could only take 50 students, but we had hundreds of applications, and so we selected the 50 that we needed. And 50 at a time? No, as the school expands, the number of students will expand and grow as well. But we wanted to start with a number that was manageable and the number for which accommodations had been planned to begin the school.
Just behind me is one of the lecture halls that students are supposed to be using once Bamsi opens. However, because it is far from completion, Agriculture Minister V. Alfred Gray says they will have to use temporary facilities until this is complete. Livingston Forbes, chief architect at the Ministry of Works, is the overseer of the project. He says they are 65 to 70% complete on the buildings. However, he explained that when it came to the lecture halls, they ran into a few issues that forced them to redesign the building, setting them back a few months.
The lecture hall would not be ready, not before early next year. You can see that is very much behind, not all to do with regards to the contractor, but we had some problems there in terms of topography and other issues, site issues that caused us to go back to the drawing board and redesign the building. But we are now on track. The contractor is now in full stage. He's doing two phases of construction each day.
UTEB last week called the relationship between Bamsi and COB a forced charade and asked COB to refrain from committing the institution to an academic Titanic. Education Minister Jerome Fitzgerald today asked UTEB and others to put aside petty politics and come together for a project that he said will benefit the entire country.
The person who's head now of Bamsi is a professor at COB, a young professor. We have many like that who are involved in the organizing, the preparation of the curriculum, the preparation of the courses, along with help from the University of Miami, the University of Florida. We're all coming together to have a program here that will be respected around the world. And so there need not, be these reckless, what I consider totally reckless statements without having some basis for finding out what the truth is before it's made.
Now, for people like Omer Thomas, who is a special advisor for Bamsi, and Everton Parks, who is responsible for commercial farming, they see nothing but hope for the Institute.
we are in collaboration with other states nearby to supply them with ripe bananas.
Value added.
And what happens too is that when we produce the bananas, we don't expect to get 100% of the quality that the market requires. So we are going to convert those non-marketable quality into value-added product such as banana chips and make banana puree and fruit punch-based mixes from our excesses.
Currently, we have a stock of 31 animals. Initially, we started with a stock of only 21, so we have had an increase since we started just 7 months ago. In the background, we have separated the bucks and the rams to ensure that we have a proper breeding program that we want to start anytime now. Shortly, we should be importing about 600 scrub goats and sheep out of the West to enhance our stock, and then we could commence a very formal breeding program.
Now, despite what Gray calls nothing but noise in the market, he says Bamsi will open on September 29th with or without classrooms being complete. Reporting from Los Angeles for NB12, I'm Kyle Joaquin.
Former Deputy Prime Minister Brent Simonet is hitting out at the Christie administration for not abiding by the results of last year's gambling referendum, asserting the last person who got cocky got beaten. Simonet told NB12 the government has shown utter contempt for the Bahamian people, adding the entire Christie cabinet should resign. His comments come as parliamentarians prepare to debate the amended gaming bill. Vonnie Toot reports.
Days after Tourism Minister Obi Wilshcombe said the government owes voters an apology, former Deputy Prime Minister Brent Simonet said today the Christie administration really owes voters a resignation and general election. He said the government never should have gone against the results of last year's gambling referendum, telling NB12 the last time voters thought a governing party got cocky, it was voted out.
They screwed this one up. There's no other comment, but they screwed it up. And now they are trying to go against the will of the people and blame it on taxation. We need the money. Well, I think they owe more than a halfway baked thing from Minister Wilchcombe saying we need an apology. I think they should resign. Whole darn government and go to an election. It goes to show the cockiness that this government and the contempt they have for the Bahamian people. They don't care less. Remember, some other fella had that same problem. He got beaten.
When asked whom he was referring to, Simonet said if the shoe fits, wear it, and warned that Prime Minister Perry Christie could suffer the same fate.
The wishes of the people, who are the supreme voice in a democracy. And the last time someone did that, or a political party did that, they were thrown out of office.
Got cocky.
Mm-hmm. Wasn't that what people used to say about the former administration? Arrogant, I think, was the word. And the party went to the country went to the polls, and the party lost. Mr. Christie's facing the same issue.
In January 2013, voters overwhelmingly rejected the regulation and taxation of web shops and the establishment of a national lottery, considering the government has chosen not to abide by the results of what he called a botched referendum. Simonet says, why not take it one step further and allow Bahamians to play in casinos?
Well, why not come out and take that bold step right now? If you're going to ignore the people, you might as well ignore them all the way. See, let's remember, gaming is illegal in this country, full stop. It's permitted by exemption in the casinos. So you just add the proviso that Bahamians can gamble in the casino. Very short amendment.
Additionally, he said the minister responsible for gaming should not get to decide whether Bahamians get to gamble in casinos in their own country. The FNM plans to vote against the gaming bill, which was tabled in Parliament last week. Simonet admits he hasn't read it, but says he feels web shops should be regularized. However, he says the number of licenses granted should not be restricted, and applicants should not be invited to apply as stated in the gaming bill.
Once you qualify, you fill out the paperwork, invited. You know what abuse? Who invites you? The government of the day. And who, well, excuse me, yeah. And who Is it purported that a number of these fellas have supported financially in a political campaign? I mean, you're opening yourself up for the worst kind of abuse.
Fort Charlotte MP and former Gaming Board Chairman Dr. Andre Rollins also recently criticized the bill, claiming it would enable corruption by giving the substantive minister too much power. Debate is expected to begin on the gaming bill on Wednesday. Reporting for NB12, I'm Vonik Toot.
Leader of the DNA and former Minister of State for Tourism under the Ingram administration, Randall McCartney, today blasted the Free National Movement government for not legalizing web shop and lottery gaming 7 years ago when it had the chance, saying they, quote, chickened out. He also slammed the Progressive Liberal Party and the gaming bill, calling it discriminatory against the Bahamian people. Our Jasmine Brown has the details in this report.
While disagreeing with several aspects of the gaming bill, the DNA leader insists gaming should have been legalized years ago under the Ingram administration. But he says despite down-to-the-wire planning, that never happened. In fact, he says when he served under former Prime Minister Hubert Ingram as State Minister for Tourism, he believed based on the work being done in his ministry, it would become a reality. That was until it came to a screeching and abrupt halt after he claimed the Ingram administration was too afraid to follow through.
The former administration, again, I don't know what happened. They chickened out. Chickened out because we thought it was going to come to fruition.
In 2010, the F&M government asked web shop owners to make their financial statements available to the then F&M government in an effort to formulate an equitable taxation regime for that industry. At the time, Ingram said the government was considering the question as to whether or not to bring into the formal economy of the Bahamas an operation that tens of thousands of Bahamians are engaged in on a daily basis. He also said he felt distressed and discomfort over the government's inability to be able to police the numbers business. McCartney says he could not say why there was a change of heart.
The former Prime Minister, I guess, changed his mind.
The DNA leader adds that he has long been a proponent of legalized gambling, but says it needs to be done correctly.
This industry should have been legalized a long time ago. The right way. A long time ago.
McCartney took issue with preventing tourists from gambling in web shops and Bahamians from gambling in casinos, but he did agree with the establishment of a national lottery.
In addition to the introduction of a national lottery as well, should have been introduced a long time ago to this country. I spoke about this back in 2007 when I was in charge of gaming and push specifically for a national lottery that would have done wonders, where not only Bahamians were able to participate, but tourists and foreigners alike.
Moving forward, McCartney says the government must ensure it does the right thing for the people of the Bahamas and not for their own political careers. He says that includes making the tough choices of ensuring the laws, once passed, meet international banking standards. Reporting for NB12, I'm Jasmine Brown.
One man and two teens appeared in magistrate's court today, charged with murder. One teen was charged with the murder of Prince Prudent, while the other teen and the man were charged with the killing of Delano Bryce. And the lawyer of one of the teens claimed her client was abused while in police custody. 19-year-old Milton McKinney of Cowpen Road, seen here in the gray sweatshirt, appeared before Magistrate Andrew Forbes. He was represented in court by attorneys Michael Kemp and Ian Cargill. It is alleged that McKinney, on Monday, August 11th, murdered Prince Prudent. Police reports on the incident in question say Prudent had just collected money from a web shop in Nassau Village and was on his way to collect money from another when he was killed in an armed robbery. While in court, McKinney's lawyer, Ian Cargill, asked for protective custody for his client, alleging McKinney's life was in jeopardy. Magistrate Forbes made note of that concern. Also appearing in court this morning, 19-year-old Garvin Pratt of Palm Tree Avenue in the blue plaid shirt and 35-year-old Edvardo Carey of Windsor Lane wearing yellow. They appeared before Magistrate Samuel McKinney. Pratt was represented by attorney Ramona Farquharson Seymour and Carey represented by attorney Roberto Reckley. They were charged with the murder of Delano Bryce. Bryce was shot on August 23rd while at Kwaku Street after leaving a relative's funeral. He died on August 27th in hospital. In the courtroom, Pratt's attorney alleged a plastic bag was placed over Pratt's head while he was being held at CDU. Farquharson Seymour further said a cloth was placed over Pratt's face and water then poured on top. She asked for Pratt to be given medical attention. Magistrate McKinney made note of her concerns. None of the three men were required to enter a plea to their respective charges, were all denied bail, and remanded to Her Majesty's prison until their next court appearances later this month. Both matters will proceed to the Supreme Court, likely by way of a voluntary bill of indictment.